Hey guys, welcome to the Runners Jam YouTube channel. We're here to talk to you about your training plan.
Yeah, we've just finished our run today.
It's hot.
It was a beautiful 25 degrees.
Muggy.
About 90% humidity.
Muggy.
But it was in the training plan, so we had to get it done. So I've been asked a lot of questions lately about how do I do my training plan. You've all picked your A race. You know what race you're going for, and so it's time to get into serious training. So I thought I'd give you a hand. You can go onto the internet if you like and search out training plans, and there's lots of great ideas out there, but the problem with them is they don't always fit your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's very true. And we've seen in research as well that if you get off-the-shelf training plans, what we've seen is that people are more prone to injury.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just puts pressure on you. So if you run 3 times a week and the plan says 5, it's going to be too much for your body, or it might just have you at a higher level than your body's ready for. So, you're just going to overload and get some overuse injuries. So what I thought I'd do today is show you how I do a training plan. It's probably not the best way, but it's what works for me, and it might give you some ideas so that you can adjust it to yourself.
Yeah.
So shall we get at it? We've just finished our run.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go back into the...
Go and get cool. All right,
Okay.
We'll talk soon.
See you later. Bye. So tell me, what should the running plan include?
So there's a few things you want to have in your plan. And the first is obviously a consistent number of runs. And this has to be built to where you're at the moment. So if you download a plan off the internet, it might have 5 runs a week, but you've actually only been running 3 times a week. So if you were to suddenly follow that new plan, you'd really be increasing your injury risk. So we want to start the plan where you're at the moment. Consistent number of runs of what you're actually doing. The second thing is you need a long run if you're an endurance runner. So if you're looking towards a half marathon or more as your race this season, then you want to be having a longer, slower run. And slower is a really key word there.
I love my slow runs. I love running slow.
Yeah, running slow is lots of fun. Get to talk more.
That's right.
Yeah. Time on your legs, that's what's really important. And also another thing is when we go through and you're planning your runs, don't put a speed work session the day before or the day after a long, slow run either. You want to keep your legs
Fresh.
Yeah, well, they mightn't be fresh when you finish, but at least protected and reducing injury.
Exactly.
Yeah. You also want to have a speed work session in your week. So with the Runners Jam crew, we get together on a Tuesday morning and we do a speed work session together. Much easier to do it with friends. So if you're in the crew, you don't have to come up with a plan for what to do. If you are not part of the Runners Jam crew, see if you can find a local running group.
Yeah, that's really important. It's good to connect with other runners anyway.
It's much easier to do those hard sessions with other people around you. So you've got a long run, you've got a speed work session, you've got consistent number of runs, and then we just want flexibility in our plan. And this is why we are designing our own plan so that it can suit your lifestyle, so that it can adapt itself when kids get sick or you have appointments on or you're going away on holiday or, if you unfortunately get a niggle. We want flexibility to adjust our plan without feeling guilty or feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing what the plan says. So it's all about looking after our body and looking after our mental health as we go through this training preparation as well.
And lastly, I think it should be fun. We've got to make it fun too, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Running is great.
The journey towards your A race is going to be a fun journey.
And often if you are following, a really set training plan, it can get mentally stressful if you're not ticking all the boxes of every run. So this does help remove a little bit of that stress and make it a more fun process for you.
Okay, so let's get into some of the practicalities and let's have a look at what a training plan should look like. So we're going to look at our spreadsheet and get into the nitty-gritty of what your training plan could look like.
Yeah, well, this is how I build a training plan, and obviously it's going to be different for everybody, but this is just a basic to give you an idea. So if you can have a look, I've just gone into an Excel spreadsheet, and the most important thing is to put your A race on. And then you work backwards so you can work out how many weeks you've got to the training. So you can see I've got the A race as the Gold Coast Full Marathon on there.
So when is the Gold Coast Marathon? Just give us a heads up. July. So how many weeks are we talking about?
So at the moment, I've counted backwards and we're talking about 21 weeks away till Gold Coast Marathon. So you can see I've done the countdown. I've got at the weeks marked. Now, on my spreadsheet, I'll always have a column for purpose so that I know if it's a recovery week or a hard week. And then you just go through the days of the week. So each day of the week, and beside each day of the week, have a separate column for how many kilometres that run is. Now, I know you're not going to be running 7 days, but just put that column in there because, hey, life needs to be flexible. Things change. Now, 2 other really important columns that you need to have when you're designing a training plan, and these columns act as your safety rails, okay,
Sure.
is a weekly Ks column, and that's where you can set up a formula to add up the Ks that you do from every run. And the other column is the number of runs. So as I said before, some people might only be running 3 times a week, but they see a plan that says 5 times a week. If they jump to that, injury is fairly certain to happen. So we want to know how many times we're running a week so that we can, if we want to increase that, we can do it in a gradual way that's going to reduce injury risk.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that you will have access, if you wanted to, this spreadsheet. We'll have it in the description below, so you can get access to this particular spreadsheet as well.
Yep, so that's the setup. That's the basic spreadsheet. Okay, so the next thing we want to add onto our spreadsheet is our taper and our recovery week. So if you're having a look at the spreadsheet here, you've got a 2-week taper. Now, I like to highlight it in a different colour because, hey, I love using colours on a spreadsheet, but it also helps me know that when I do get to adding in the different distances, I'm in taper. So I really need to lower that distance there. And you can actually see that the last 2 runs before the race, I've already put the kilometres in there because I know that I'm going to do an 18K 2 weeks before, and the week before I'm only going to do 12K. So that's the plan. Now, the other thing I've added is recovery weeks. And you can see I've highlighted blue and all the way to the cross to the weekly Ks. I've put it in there as well. These are really, really important. So ideally, and people's bodies are different, so ideally you want to have a recovery week every 3 or 4 weeks. Work out what works well for your body. Recovery weeks are so important for so many reasons.
They are. They help reduce injuries.
Yeah. So by a recovery week, we're talking about dropping our weekly Ks. We're talking about dropping the distance of our long runs as well. And that does exactly what Condi said. It helps reduce injuries. But it also gives your mind a break because when you're starting to get up to those big Ks, it can actually be really tiring, particularly because by then, for us, we're into the winter months.
That's right.
So you're usually getting up in the dark, in the cold, to go out, start a run maybe at 4 a.m. or something. So knowing that you have a week every 3 or 4 weeks where you don't have to get up quite so early can be a really good thing. And I'm pretty sure if you have non-running members in your family too, they probably appreciate a recovery week as well.
Right. So now that we've added our recovery weeks and our taper weeks, what should we add next?
Well, let's fill it up with what we do every week in a normal week. So from where we are now. So if you're running 3 times a week and they're on regular days, pop those in there now. So you can see on the spreadsheet I've done here that I'm running 4 times a week. I've got Tuesday is my RJ speed session, Thursday we've got Runners Jam Trails, Saturday's park run, and on Sunday we do a long run. So that's what my regular week of running looks like. I'm not going to add the distances in yet. I just want to see what a regular week looks like to begin with.
Great. Okay, so we've added our recovery weeks, we've added our taper weeks, and we've put in our regular runs. What should we add next?
Let's have some fun with the distances. So it can be a really good idea to do the previous, 3 or 4 weeks as well, so you can see what distances you've done, because we never want to increase our distances too much. We want to do that gradually. So if you have a look at the spreadsheet on there, I've put distances that have been running. So the first week on there was actually a recovery week. So I had RJ speed was 6K, the trail run was 6, park run 5, and my long run was 9. Now, because we've already put the formula in, you can see it's already totaled it to 26K. So I know what that is. That's a recovery week. So now I'm going to go to my next week. And I've put those distances in. We've come to a long run of 15 and a weekly of 34. Now, this is where it gets really important, and where that weekly column and your long run column are so important, because then I can look at it and I can go, okay, well, my long runs and my weekly totals, I only ever want to increase by about 10%. Okay, you can get away with 15 sometimes, but you don't want to do that every week. So you play with it a little bit, yeah. So this allows you to go through and move the figures around. But if you work on roughly 10% increase to your weekly run, to your long run, and 10% to your weekly runs, it should work out, and hopefully you'll get through without injury. So you can see I've done a few weeks ahead there, and what's really important is when we get to March the 27th, which is week 17 on the countdown, I've dropped the Ks drastically again. So my long run the week before was 18.5, total was 38.5, and then on my recovery week we've dropped down to 12K for a long run and only 31 total. So that gives my body time to adjust and have a bit of recuperation.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we call it a recovery week. Yeah,
exactly.
It's time for you to just take stock and recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically how you want to go. You need to start from where you're at now and build up.
Sure. Okay, so we made a lot of these additions now to our plan. But what if there's another race that I may want to slip in before the main game?
Yeah, because that's tempting, isn't it?
Of course
that's a lot of fun. Your friends are signing up for other races. So the beauty of this is that it's so flexible. So let's have a look. For example, in here, I've added in an extra race, which is about week 10 on the countdown. So I know straight away that race is 18K, so I can see that it adjusts my weekly figure. Now, on the day before, when I normally would have run a park run, I don't want to run the day before. So I've put volunteer on there. So I'm just going to volunteer if I go to park run that week. And then I might reduce the distances of my other runs that week as well. And I can do that because I know I've got a race week. We know when you do your race, you're going to be racing a bit harder. So it's not going to be the long run as usual. Now, because of that, I've reduced the Ks of the race week, and then probably the week after, I'm going to reduce the Ks as well.
Okay, now let's talk about how we build up our number of runs throughout the week.
Yeah, so we've covered how we build up the distances of our other runs, but what's really important is when you want to add in an extra day a week.
Sure.
So if you're going from 3 runs as a regular up to 4 runs, or 4 runs up to 5, you can't just jump in and do that every week. You're just risking injury again,
Sure,
and that's what we want to avoid. We want to get to the start line uninjured. That's the plan. So what's really important is the first week when you add an extra run, make it short. Okay, so on this plan, for example, you can see I've gone from 4 runs a week to where I want to be running 5 times a week. So I've added an extra run in on the Wednesday, but you can see the distance. I've kept it at 3K. So it's really, really short, and I'm not doing it every week. So I've done that one week. The next week, I don't do the extra run. So one week I'm running 4. The next week I run 5. Then I drop back to 4 again. And then I go to 5 again. Now, so that gives me a month, and I can start to see how is my body responding. Let's remember things like shin splints, they usually show up after 3 to 4 weeks. So we need to give ourselves time to see if any niggles are going to happen. So once you've got to the point where you've done that month and your body's gone, I'm okay with this, then, for example, I've done 3 weeks in a row, but I've still kept the Ks pretty low. I've just added it up to 4K run. Then I've given myself in the recovery week a week off again. And from there, I can move into regularly running, and I can even start to increase that from a 4K run up to a 5K run. So it's all about sprinkling the runs, letting your body adjust and adapt before making it a regular and consistent thing.
And lastly, Is there anything else we need to add to the running plan?
Yeah, this is where you can have lots of fun with colour. So add in those other things you do. So if you're doing strength work, add that in as well. If you're going for a swim or a cycle, yoga, whatever it is that you do, add that in there. That also does allow you to look at your life and go, wow, I think maybe that's overloaded, or maybe there is room that I could add something in that would support my running as well. So just remember, a training plan should work for you. It can't be your master, it needs to be your guideline. And if it works for you, then there's a higher chance that your body is going to get to that start line without niggles, and you're going to enjoy the run. Importantly, stick to the 10% rule. So with those, the really important columns are the kilometres of our long run, our weekly Ks, and the number of runs we do a week. So the number of runs we do a week, we're going to gradually increase that. The number of Ks, weekly Ks, and our long runs, we want to increase that only by about 10% a week, making sure we have a recovery week in there. So hopefully that's given you a starting place. Now you might still have questions about, well, what actual distances should I be at? As I said, start from where you are now and use that 10% rule. If you're in the Runners Jam team and you have any questions, more than happy to help you out. If you're not, join up with a community group, a running group. There will be people in there who have great experience and can really give you some guidance in this.
And lastly, if you have any additional questions, just put them down in the comments. We'll be happy to try and answer the questions for you.
Yeah, but most of all, have fun. This is fun doing this. It's really fun, and it's really a great skill for you to have to understand your training and to make some really good grounds at building your own training plan.
And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to the Runners Jam YouTube channel. We'll have some great content for you coming up very shortly. See you later.
Enjoy your running.
Okay, bye.
Bye.